our general rule and general approach is like to assume the best of each other all the time. And I think that's a great way to move through the world. It's never, why the fuck did you do this? Or I can't believe you've done this. It's always like, hey, are you okay? Because it is out of character for you to have done this. Or I'm feeling like this. Am I overreacting? Am I taking this the wrong way?
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders both past and present. My name's Cam Daddo.
I'm Ali Daddo.
Hey, Al.
Yes.
What happens when you blend music and comedy?
Momedy?
Okay, no, wait. What happens when you blend a person who does music and comedy?
Musical comedy?
A musical comedian?
Musical comedian, okay.
Or a comical
Musician? Yeah.
Right? Either way, you find your way to this person.
See?
Hey?
There's a good segue.
Hey?
Musical comedian Michelle Brasier is known for her work with Auntie Donna, Sean McAuliffe's Mad as Hell, Thank God You're Here, and her one-woman Comedy as Philosophy live shows. I love that. Comedy as philosophy.
A lot of philosophy is pretty funny.
Yeah, especially you can blend it well with comedy.
Philosophizing, pontificating.
That's right. In between standing ovations off Broadway, writing a memoir, and her upcoming UK tour, Michelle has slotted in recording her eagerly awaited debut album, Trilogy Mixtape. The album is the soundtrack to Michelle's last 3 award-winning solo shows, Average Bear, Legacy, and Reform.
Tim Lancaster is Michelle's partner. He's outside with Michelle right now. Not to be confused with the British Airways pilot Tim Lancaster, who survived being sucked out of the broken windshield at 17,000 feet in 1990.
What?
Thank you, Dr. Google. And in case you're wondering, he survived because a crew member literally grabbed a hold of his feet while another crew member hung on to the foot grabber's belt. Amid 100-mile-per-hour winds blasting through the cockpit, they hung on until the landing. A couple of fractures, a bloody nose, and several pairs of soiled undies, I am sure. It's not that Tim Lancaster, honey.
Because that's a story.
It is a story.
But we're not going to ask him about that.
This, aren't we?
No, I don't think he's going to know anything about it.
I beg to differ. I'm curious
Do you
about
reckon
that.
he will know? He won't.
I reckon there'll be people that ask him. I'm
What
going
a
to ask him.
story.
Yeah, I
Wow.
know.
Okay, all right.
So this Tim Lancaster, the man who is outside the bathroom with Michelle, is way more grounded. He's younger and musical. Let's welcome Michelle and Tim to the bathroom. All right, look, guys, welcome. Firstly, Tim, I have to ask you this question. Do you ever get asked about being sucked out of an aeroplane window?
I want to go back to when you said sucked off.
Do you, Tim?
No, I don't.
Are
No.
you aware of Tim Lancaster, the pilot in
I am.
1990? I knew you would be.
I am aware. Of course, I've Googled myself. I'm not a fool.
Yes.
Of course. No,
Yeah.
I am aware of alternate Tim Lancaster's story, but unfortunately not that many people Google me, so nobody really comes to ask me.
Well, they know about it now because in
They
the
do.
intro, because I went to Dr. Google, of course, and and that's what I discovered.
And you've got an incredible story, Tim.
I do.
I'm glad you survived that that sucking out the window.
Me too, and here we are. It's all worked out really well for me.
Look at you go.
Well, we are a relationship podcast, you guys. So tell us your love story. How did you meet?
We met, and this sounds fake, but it is real. We met doing Legally Blonde, the musical.
Nice.
Isn't that so? So I was playing L Words, and Tim was playing Warner Huntington III. And
What production of Legally Blonde was this?
this was not a professional production. This was in my hometown. So of Wagga Wagga.
Oh, you're from Wagga. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Wagga girl. Yeah, I'd gone back there because I knew that my brother was very sadly passing away, and he sort of had, you know how they give you sort of an expiration date-ish, and it was like, okay, I'm going to be with my family around that time just so we're all together, and I was already going to be there. And then the person who had played Emmett in Legally Blonde. This is some music theatre trivia. The person who played Emmett is Brent Delahenty. He's from Wagga, but he had done the actual Australian tour, and I think maybe he was a swing or a cover of it, and he wanted to do it. So he called them and said, I'm going to come home and do it. And they went, that's great, but if you're going to do Emmett, then we're going to need to find an Elle who is also a professional music theatre performer, and called me and said, how much for you to come home and play Elle? And I was like, baby girl, I'm going to be there anyway. You just pay for my hair to get done and weekly minimum, and I'm all yours, because I love the show. And then Tim had been at uni there.
Yeah, I studied at Wagga, studied teaching, but then decided teaching wasn't for me, and they had a wonderful acting course at the time. Yeah. So I was studying acting instead. Wanted to really love the production as well, and that's just how we met Michelle there. And
Amazing.
So I was Callahan in the Australian production of Legally Blonde,
I remember,
and it was with Lucy, and so Millsy was playing your role, Tim.
Yes, my beautiful Mills.
yes,
So at what point? I don't remember Elle and Warner, right? Warner ever kissing. Was that early on, was it?
very early on, almost
Yeah.
I think the second scene of the show. It almost immediately before Warner breaks up with Elle.
Yeah. They have a
We
little smooch.
shared a smooch on stage, and then had a dinner scene where Warner has his one song singing about how he wants to be a little bit more serious and needs a more serious partner, breaks up with Elle, and that sort of sets the whole story in motion. So every night we shared a little smooch, and every night we broke up.
Well practiced.
Yes.
Michelle, how was that for you, though? I mean, that must have been incredibly difficult in two separate worlds that you were living. You mentioned that your brother was incredibly ill.
Yeah.
And then you had to go on stage and be like, and Elle is one of the happiest characters that you can play on stage. How did you pull that off?
I think she helped me through it, to be completely honest.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, my brother actually ended up passing away. I'd been doing the Edinburgh Fringe the month before, and he actually ended up passing away that month while I was in Edinburgh.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know, it's all right. We sort of knew that he was going to go. And I was very lucky that I was surrounded by all these beautiful performers in Edinburgh, and I did the show that night. I just did my show. And I felt like, this is obviously, like, everyone talks about this, and it's very wanky, but like the power of theatre and the power of that community is so beautiful. And so I think it was actually perfect for me. The night that my brother died, I had this bit in my one-woman show where I would ask the audience if they had snow globes. It was just a quick throwaway line so that I could get out a snow globe. It was just a funny little joke. And the venue, the day my brother died, raised all this money and bought enough snow globes for every single audience member so that when they got to the point where I said, who's got your snow globes, every single person had held a snow globe in the air.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I just think, like, there's some real healing that can be done as long as you're not relying on the audience, because, you know, you don't want to get up there and use them as therapy. But I think if you use your castmates in the community, it's one of the best places to heal from something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing that they did that for you. How did you keep it together when they all held up the snow globes?
I cry thinking about it now, but at the time, I think, you know, you get into that mode where you're doing the show, and I sort of stopped and I was like, okay, for anyone here who's like general public who doesn't know why they were handed just a random snow globe, because it was mostly, you know, lots of Aussie and UK comedians who had really rallied to be there. But there were also ticket buying public who were like, okay, what's this for? So I just was like, just so you know, my brother's dead. It's okay. We're going to keep doing the show. This will be a memory for me, and you will think this was a weird thing that happened one time, and that's fine. But yeah, it was very beautiful. It was really nice.
Yeah, I just think those moments in theatre when you're actually in a theatre and sharing that experience, because no two shows are the same, and no two audiences are the same. So
yeah,
that's the beauty of a one night in theatre, and you go, cheapers, man, this is why it's so great.
Yeah,
doing it.
And Tim, are you still chasing that dream of theatre and acting? Are you still in it?
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly thanks to Michelle for the last few years. We've been doing shows together now for 3 years, comedy shows. Each of those shows I've become more and more involved in, and like the first one that we did, Average Bear, in 2021 was just the two of us, and I just sort of sat in the back and was playing the music for the show and a couple of little characters here and there. And the second one was about Michelle being scammed during lockdown, and I played the scammer, and again, music as well, but a bit more of an involved role. And then the third one is us, again, Legacy, where I play, I think 12 or 13 different characters throughout. So the shows that we do together at the moment are my creative outlet as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely still something that I'm incredibly passionate about, yeah.
But how does that work for the two of you? Is it all collaborative, or how do you work together?
It's Michelle. It's definitely Michelle.
Okay.
100% it's Michelle.
Yeah, I write the shows and I give him his lines, and a week before
Pay him
the
a
first
buck or
trial
two.
show. Yeah, a week before the first trial show, I'll say, oh, by the way, here's these songs I wrote. Learn them and make them sound nice on the guitar, because he's a much better musician than I am. So he really punches up the songs.
Quite often I will read through the script and notice a line that I've said to Michelle months in advance to that she's
Yeah, I take his jokes.
taken and put into the show somewhere. But
Yeah, they're for me.
Yeah.
So that's the question I was going to ask you. Do you guys walk around with a notebook or voice notes in your pocket, and is it like a hard to switch off?
It is hard to. I mean, the amount of times I've been like, Tim, can you text me sexy fish flappy arms, like, and he just like, cause I just have had an idea that I'm like, this will get me back to that idea. I think he's my walking notebook, to be honest.
It's always a text. It's never, can you just write this down? It's always text me this random line out of context that will make no sense to anybody, but I'll be able to turn it into something.
I need a notification. I'm not good at checking my phone, so I need something that's like needs my attention.
Were you funny as a kid, or were both of you funny as a kid? I mean, how did comedy... You don't hear it of too many female comedians. I know there's a lot more now, but like, is that something you wanted as a young girl?
I think I wanted to be in musicals. That was my main thing that I wanted, because I sing and I love singing, and I wanted to be an actor, and I saw a path. I think I just sort of saw you can have a bit of a head start if you make your own stuff. And I think that's what happened. But I always loved comedy. I never set out to be a stand-up comedian, and I do describe myself as an actor rather than a stand-up, really, because I think that's really what I am. But I think I was always funny, and I think I always loved comedy. Like, I've got all these VHS tapes of the gala, and I was 12 years old and I made my friends sit down and watch Good News Week. Like, I was a real comedy nerd, but I didn't think it was for me because, as you say, there weren't that many women. There were a few, but there weren't that many. And so now I think it's a really different landscape, and I think it's very much less a boys' club. But yeah, I just sort of fell into it because I was like, well, I'm going to write my own shows so that I get to be the person who gets offered things rather than always having to audition for things. Like, I did that very deliberately, and I've been very lucky. But I think that I didn't know what I was going to make, and I set out to make something, and I liked making people laugh, and it turned out I was all right at it, I suppose, because I'd exposed myself to so much of it.
Were you one of those kids that we see now on Instagram just singing songs and making stuff up? Would that have been you if you were a little kid today?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was a nightmare, and if given access to like cameras, I had a video camera that my parents gave me, and I used to make movies and all the time. I'd interrupt my parents' dinner parties and be like, guys, I've written a song. Listen, I was so annoying. I was exhausting, and I don't know if I've gotten any better. I've just monetized it.
Well done. Well done.
That's a true gift.
It is.
That's
It
a
is.
gift-giving gift right there.
And Tim, were you always playing guitar or music?
Always.
Is guitar your instrument,
Guitar's
or do you
my
play
instrument.
other ones?
Yeah, guitar's my main instrument. I play a little bit of others, like a little bit of piano, a little bit of banjo,
He can
which is
pick up
fun.
everything. He's that kind of, he just picks it up and plays it.
I'm quite lucky. I've got quite a good ear that I can, but guitar is my main one. And my dad was is a guitarist, a hobby guitarist. I would always pick up his guitar, and before I got lessons would be, just strumming incredibly annoying noises that they would have absolutely hated around the house. Yeah, so I describe myself probably as musician first, then actor, and comedian is like right down the bottom for me.
So when you were at uni, so let's just go back to that. You're at uni at Wagga, and what were you studying when you realised that wasn't going to happen?
Teaching.
I see. Don't you think a lot of teachers end up as performers?
I think so, yeah.
Or lawyers.
Lawyers love it, yeah. Lawyers absolutely love it. Even in my cohort at uni of the teachers, there was quite a number that transferred over into acting as well, and were like, teaching's not for me. I was going to be an English and drama teacher. They were my two passionate subjects at school, and things that I loved. So I was doing acting at uni as like an elective for the drama teaching. And I had just found myself drawn more to that than to the teaching. And I distinctly remember like calling my mum when I'd made the decision to swap over, expecting her to have a bit more pushback because in her mind, you know, teaching is a much more solid career than acting. But I told her and she took a pause that, I mean, it could have been 2 seconds, it could have been 2 hours. I'm not really sure how long the pause was, but immediately she was like, great, all right, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you're passionate about, that's what we're going to support you through.
Good on you, Mum.
We're going to do it.
So nice.
It was great, yeah.
I'm going to just take the stance just for 2 seconds, as I was a full-time teacher and I still actually work at a school part-time. And man, the teaching profession would have loved to have had you as a teacher, because to be musical, to be funny, and to be a good guy, we need more male teachers. So I'm like, I feel sad for the teaching profession.
Yeah,
get you.
My lecturers kind of felt a little bit the same at the time as well. And
that's my stand.
I mean, a lot of actors, because you know, acting is a bit like surfing. You kind of paddle out. You're paddling out through and you got to sit out the back and wait for the job, you know. And I love what you're talking about, Michelle, saying, well, while I'm sitting out waiting for the job, I'm going to make up my own stuff and monetize that, you know. And then the wave comes through and you surf that all the way to the beach. Now you got to paddle all the way back out again. You can always go back to teaching.
That's it. It's nice. It is nice to have there, and it's
always there.
Sure.
I do like. I like to teach music to people, and I like to like all that sort of stuff is really fun and enjoyable for me. So I think there's a world where one day I will do something like that.
And that's great news for our superannuation.
Fantastic news, yeah.
That's right. We just need to pay teachers better. That's the main part of it. That's why a lot of people go, nah, it's not for me, because you look at the pay and you go, crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's not good for the amount of hours
The amount
I'm
of work
doing.
you put in.
It's so much work.
So much.
Oh my gosh.
My sister's a teacher, and it just looks it looks exhausting. But both my parents were teachers, actually.
Were they?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, big teacher family. So I didn't really know, because I grew up in Wagga. So I was like, I guess you grow up and you become a teacher, and then that's kind of it. Like, all the adults I know are teachers, so that's the job.
And how do they feel about you now with the career that you've leapt into and doing well in?
I think now they feel good. I think for a long time they were like, oh, God. I think the first time my mum saw me get recognised in the wild, something changed for her. And she was like, oh, okay. Because even now, when I first got the role on Sean McAuliffe's Mad as Hell, which was my first proper TV gig that was not just 1 or 2 episodes. You know, it was my first I'm joining the cast of this show and this is my proper job. I remember her asking me, and will they pay you for that or no? She doesn't quite understand the world. And it's a real shame that my brother's not around, because he's the only one who would really properly understand all the things that I've done and be able to really acknowledge those achievements. But it's okay. I make Tim give me compliments. And
It's my main job.
Me. Yeah,
that's right.
How do you guys maintain the work-life balance in your relationship?
I think one thing that has really helped us be able to successfully work together, and I mean, we tour the world together and do shows together now. I think one thing that really helped is that we met at work. We met doing a show, so we immediately how we were at work, and then learnt how we were outside of that afterwards. Working together first has really sort of laid the foundation for being able to continue to work together, and we sort of found our life outside of that afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but we just sort of log into a different mode. If we're on the road and we need to do something, Tim will kind of just switch into tour manager mode almost if we don't have one there, or if my management's not there. He will just sort of fill whatever gap. He just sort of patches up things around me as I leak different things, I guess, because that's just my role.
Not physically, right?
Yeah, not physically, but sometimes.
Yeah.
We do tend to leak.
Women, leaky. It's a great question, because we do struggle, I think, to not always be talking about work or not always be thinking about it. I found during COVID, I really had a hard time, because my self-worth was very tied to my work, and I hadn't realised that until I got to COVID. And I was like, oh God, what am I if not this? And so I think that was a real eye-opener for me, to be like, oh, sometimes you just need to walk the dog and go for a picnic and not not take any notes and not like, notice how someone's walking and see if you can try on their walk or their whatever, just chill out. So I'm still working on that, really. I think you're better at that, Tim. You're better at winding down.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that the job that we do, we are incredibly lucky because we just have these incredible working holidays all around the world. Like we just have to, like we spend a month every year in Edinburgh at the Fringe, and we work for an hour a day really there. I mean, of course, there's much more involved than just doing the 1 hour show.
But we've got such a great team around us now that we don't have to, we're not out flying in the streets anymore. And like,
we get to enjoy the places that we are at. And I think we are quite good at making the most of enjoying the place that we are physically at and getting the most out of the holiday around the work.
Yeah. We just did Off-Broadway and we went to see a bunch of other Off-Broadway shows and, that was so lovely. And, we do try to make the most of it.
Oh, I love that. I just want to take you back in time a little bit, though. To that.
Can I have the music?
Oh, there you go.
The didgeridoo.
Take us back to Legally Blonde. You guys had not known each other until you were in production with each other?
No, we didn't know each other. I sort of knew of Tim because he had just dated my friend who was the stage manager and they'd broken up. So I came in actually with a bit of a chip on my shoulder against him.
I think we'd actually met in...
And he sings a song. No, that's the other guy sings a song about a chip on a shoulder.
Yeah.
We had met in passing when I was still dating that our mutual friend now. We're great friends.
Yeah, we're
still.
Great friends. We go for dinner with her and her new partner.
But Michelle was doing a different production in Wagga at the time, maybe 6 months beforehand. And I was thinking about doing the local musical of Mary Poppins at the start of the year, and I was a bit nervous. I was like, I haven't really done a musical before. I don't think I'd be very good at it. And Michelle was actually the one who convinced me in a conversation to audition for it, and I ended up getting the lead role. I got the role of Bert.
Well done.
Thank you. It was very fun.
Yeah.
And then that led me into doing Legally Blonde as well. So she was the one who started the whole thing, really.
Wow, I'm a puppet master.
You are, truly, truly.
And at what point did you recognise the attraction with each other? Like, was it on stage, that final, 2 weeks in, or what made it click for the both of you?
I think it must have been on stage because I wasn't really conscious of it until the final night. There's a bit where Elle kisses Warner and I kissed him and I didn't quite get the kiss right and I went in for another one. So I think at some point there, I remember there was a time where I was doing sound checking because Elle Woods wears so many different, and there's so many quick changes and so there's some layering and, there's the bunny corset and I would start the show in the corset and then put other things on top. And so I was just out in this corset. I'd just gotten ready and I was doing my sound check out on the stage and Tim had seen me on one of the backstage screens and came out and gave me his jacket. And I remember being like, oh, because we both had partners at the time.
Yeah, I think that throughout the whole period of the show, the rehearsals and the show itself, because it was quite a limited run, really. It was only a couple of weeks. I felt this attraction to Michelle and her, like I knew the grief that she was going through with losing her brother overseas and just, being in a tough spot. The way that she held herself through that and the kindness and empathy that she had for everybody else in the show, kind of pushing her own stuff aside, was really intriguing to me. But I think at the time at least just felt like that classic sort of showmance thing that is never going to go anywhere. It happens on some shows, or had happened in the past on some shows where you do a show, you work so closely with someone that you feel this attraction, but that there's no substance to it potentially, and that's kind of just what I thought that it would be. Because, like she says, we both had partners at the time as well in relationships that, looking back, we weren't particularly happy in, and then we just sort of kept getting to know each other afterwards and started to realize that, oh, no, there is actually something here, something that is very intriguing about this person that I really want to keep getting to know and still want to keep getting to know.
Oh, that's so nice.
And that would have been a bit of a telltale, given that the show was over, because often what happens in shows, what you're talking about every night after the show. You're having a beer and doing a post-mortem of what happened on stage, and then suddenly when the show's over, that part of it's gone. You don't you're not connecting on that level, and you're back to life. And like I said, if I go back to that metaphor of surfing, you're back paddling out looking for your next gig again. Hey, Michelle, you just mentioned before that intrigued me. This will let our listener know a bit more about what happens. You said when you're in Glasgow and you're doing your show and it's 1 hour, now you've got a team behind you working. You said something about we don't have to do something out on the street anymore. Is that spruiking? What did you say?
Yeah, flyering. Yeah.
Flyering. So can you take us into that world a bit? Because often we think, oh, these guys would just turn up, they do the show, they bugger off, heading off to the next city or whatever. So, but this is really grassroots, down in the dirt, promoting your own shows, correctly?
Yeah,
Correct?
and this is why sometimes fellow actors will be like, oh my God, you've made it, you've done it, you're so good. Oh, you just got offered that, or you didn't have to audition for it. And I'm like, I didn't have to audition for it. But what I did have to do was stand on the streets of rainy Edinburgh year after year after year, handing out flyers to strangers saying, please come and take a chance on me. I'm from Australia. I'm at 3 p.m. I've got 150 tickets to sell. Like, please come along. I promise it'll be good. And like learning to sell myself and just going through the trenches of that. And that's the nature of Edinburgh Fringe. It still is like that. We don't do that here at Melbourne Comedy Festival, really. I mean, you sometimes see people out the front of Town Hall flying a little bit, and I'll always take a flyer and I'll always try and see their shows, especially when they're flying for themselves. But yeah, it took me, I think, like 10 years of doing Edinburgh Fringe to get to the point where I am now, which is like, oh, I'll sell out and it'll be fine. But like to actually make money, because you do it as an investment in yourself, you get so much better. You're also running around to do gigs because you need to make money, and you need to get in front of as many audience members as you can, because it's a great way to sell tickets to your show, is be on a lineup and do your 10-minute sketch or your 5-minute song or your whatever. So you're running around town, like the entire city shuts down. If you haven't been to Edinburgh Fringe, like you have to go. Beautiful, beautiful city, but there's no real roads that are open. Like you're sort of running everywhere from Old Town to New Town, and it's really beautiful and romantic. It's always raining, and you really make friends in the trenches. It's such a beautiful place, and you become so good because you have to adjust to 6 different audiences in a night. And I'm still someone who, like, I don't need to go to Edinburgh Fringe. We've done a season at Soho Theatre. We're about to go and do our tour of the UK. Like, we don't need to break the UK necessarily, but I want to keep getting better, and I want to keep going back to Edinburgh and seeing those people who are out on the street. I want to see their shows, and I just want to be there. I just find it so intoxicating. But the flyering is so hard and so exhausting.
It's such a vulnerable thing to stand there with pictures of your own face on a small piece of paper and kind of just like open yourself up to everybody walking past. And because there are I think the last Fringe, there was something like 3,500 different shows. It's a massive festival.
It's the biggest arts festival in the world.
So to be standing there and say, to sort of have to prove to someone or tell someone that they should take a chance on you when there's 3,499 other shows that they could go to, there's so many more no's than there are yeses, which is, I mean, just how it is in the industry. But you're just doing that hour after hour over there.
Do they ever say, tell me a joke and I'll come see you?
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine that. Be like some smart ass going, all right, make me
tell
laugh
me a
and I'll
joke.
come. Yeah.
You're so funny. Tell me a joke, you gobshite.
Okay, your face.
How do you deal with hecklers?
I don't often get hecklers, but usually it's people just chatting who just want to be a part of it. They just sort of want to chat.
Sure.
So I never get any real rude hecklers. So people chat, and when they chat, I flirt with them. Like I just will say, I'll be like, oh my God, Dad, don't. And I'll go and like sit on their knee. I feel like kill them with kindness is the easiest way to go for a heckler, because they want to be a part of it. And if you let them be a part of it and then set up a boundary and go, here's what your job is, I'll come and see you when I want to talk to you, and I will not throw to you when it's not your line, then I think they're a bit easier to deal with, because you can really unsettle a room. But I once hosting this show called Late and Live, which is an Edinburgh Fringe show, and it is notorious for, I think it was Russell Brand or maybe Dylan Moran, I can't remember, there's a famous comedian who is famous for like smashing a bottle over his head and being like, is this what you want? Like people go to heckle. It has a traditional people, it's really late, it goes to 3 a.m. and people will come and they will heckle, and it's kind of, you're just being thrown to the lion's den, but it pays well and it's really, you're forged in fire kind of thing. And it's changed over the last few years, and that now they all have all female hosts, and they're trying to have more queer people in the lineup and a more gentle audience. But when I first did it, it was very much still in that space. And I was hosting, and this guy guy yelled out. I'm like, everyone say this, everyone say this, everyone say pretty and funny, what a catch. And then this guy yells out, my daughter is fitter than you. And I was like,
What a random.
I know. And I was
That's the
like,
record
what?
scratch.
I know. And everyone booed him. And I was like, no. It's late in life, guys. We're very open here. If this guy wants to fuck his daughter, as long as he doesn't act on it, we're not going to boo it. He's going to go to the doctor. We're going to all call the police. It's going to be fine. And that's the only time I've ever had to throw someone under the bus, to really just be like, okay, mate. Here, I'm going to make everyone hate you more.
Yeah, you really can't invite them and have a conversation with them because that's what they want to be a part of it.
That's
they
right.
always,
It's like an online troll, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
like, don't engage.
Don't engage. Yeah, but they have lots of really good bouncers at that show as well that will just come in and eject you.
Just drag people out, yeah.
Yeah.
No one can be bounced from listening to your new album.
Yes, you can heckle at
Trilogy.
home all you like.
Exactly. Trilogy mixtape. Tell us a bit about this album.
It was so much fun to put together. It's
In 3 days.
Literally, yeah. the timeline was crazy. The album itself is the songs of the 3 shows that we have done together, the 3 comedy shows, plus a couple of pop songs that Michelle has written as well. And one from her Double Denim days, which is a sketch duo that she did before the pandemic.
That was my Edinburgh flyering days,
Yeah.
my begging on the streets days.
Yeah.
But we've always been asked by people after shows, where can I listen to these songs? When can we do this? And there's always been, I guess, a want for both of us to put together an album.
Yeah, we wanted to. And I always lied to people and said, we're doing it. We're recording it right now. I always lied. But then we finally did it.
We finally did it, but we truly, the timeline for it was, this year is an incredibly busy year, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to say. It's really nice to be busy. But we had, I think, a week to get in the studio. Michelle had 3 days
had 3
recording
days.
vocals.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had maybe 4 days doing some of the guitar and vocals as well. Yeah, that was between a festival and then heading over to the US to do some shows in the US.
Wow.
And then our producer, Tom,
Tom Zahari, amazing. Does all the music for Auntie Donna.
he did
Beautiful.
just incredible work to put it all together and get it out in time for the comedy festival when we got back to then do a launch concert of the show.
How many songs on the album?
There's like 20.
Yeah,
There's
I think
too
there's,
many.
I think it's about
There's a
24
lot.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
You've gone Taylor Swift, you've gone the double album.
I
Yeah,
have. I really
yeah.
have. I'm actually going to open it. How many tracks are there?
I think it's 22 to 24, I think, somewhere around there.
Wow,
Too
that's
many.
prolific.
That's a lot.
Michelle, how would you describe it?
I would describe it. Yeah, it's a little musical comedy journey through my last 3 shows, the trilogy, which I call them. I feel like I've done a lot of wrapping up. Doing this, recording the album with my favorite songs from each show, and I've just written a book as well, which is I take a lot of my favorite stories from that, and also a lot of other stuff, and just oh God, all my material feels like it's out now. As soon as the book comes out, everything will just be here's every thought I've ever had and every song I've ever written. And then I just have to sort of start again, which actually feels very, very exciting.
It's also really nice for us to have as well because
Yes.
obviously we can sit at home and play the songs on the guitar and do that sort of stuff as well. But there's songs in there that kind of evoke memories and moments from shows or from places or tours that we don't even really think about until we hear it. And to sort of just have that professionally produced and able to listen to at home is really cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to give the audience something that they'd been asking for because they're so nice to me and they give me their money and their time and their attention. And those are the 3 things that I need to survive. Those are my Maslow's hierarchy of me. So I want them to be able to listen to them and for free. I don't want to charge people for it.
But if they want to buy it on iTunes, they can do that too.
Oh yeah, they
There
probably
you go.
can. I don't know how the internet
There's going to be a
works.
link. How do you two work through challenges in the relationship? Are you both good communicators or?
I think so. I think I'm a very good communicator. To the point where I communicate too much. Or maybe that's not necessarily true, but I always want to talk about how I'm feeling and how you're feeling and what's going on for both of us. And I think we have a pretty good system.
I think we do. I think we've learnt to both be better at communicating over the years because we've been together now for 8 years. I think this is our 9th year together.
Long time.
Long time. And I know myself personally, I was not a great communicator at the start of the relationship, but I think that we have gotten really, really good at working through, like we know each other's strengths and weaknesses so well after that amount of time. It doesn't take much for one of us to see the other one struggling in a way that even they might not necessarily know.
Yeah, we get ahead of each other's
often
crash.
Often ahead of it before
Yeah.
we're ahead of our own stuff, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, we sort of have our general rule and general approach is like to assume the best of each other all the time. And I think that's a great way to move through the world in any way. But for a relationship, it's really nice because it means that like the first question isn't like, it's never why the fuck did you do this or I can't believe you've done this. It's always like, hey, are you okay? Because it is out of character for you to have done this.
Yeah.
Or I'm feeling like this. Do you think that I'm overworked? Like, am I overreacting? Am I taking this the wrong way? And my first rule as well for Tim is if I'm crying because I'm taking something too seriously or if I'm just clearly overloaded, is for him to tell me to shut the fuck up and have fun or like to laugh at me and joke about it. Like I don't want my feelings to be taken seriously unless they need to be. And so we try not to validate each other's bullshit and we trust each other when the other one says, that's not real. Come on, let's go get a cake.
Yeah. It's often
Cake heals everything.
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah. The other thing is it's so much of the issues that we have as people ourselves can just be solved by getting outside and going for like a walk as well. That's one of Michelle's big things is that she needs to have a big walk so often. If there's,
Sometimes Tim takes me for a walk like I'm the dog.
Like the dog,
he'll
yeah,
be
exactly.
like, oh, I think she needs a walk.
it's just knowing how the other person's brain works is it's been nice. It's nice to.
It's beautiful.
work it out.
Way to support each other.
We do a bit of that. Get out there, go for a walk. Come
It's
on,
nice.
let's get some air air through the gills. I do want to just remind you of is the pillow fort still a technique that you use? There was a great early story with you guys getting together around a pillow fort, and I just love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was beautiful. So, yeah, we'd been talking for ages after Legally Blonde and we were discussing, I was just starting to feel quite overwhelmed by things and I had a lot of auditions coming up and I think I just started working in TV a fair bit and I'd started being recognised and I wanted to hide and I was like, I just want to get into like a fort and we talked about what our perfect fort would be and I told him all the things that the perfect fort would be and I went over to his house and he had turned his bedroom into that fort.
Oh.
And that is genuinely what sealed the deal. Like I was like, okay.
Which is good
Good
because I
move,
put some
buddy.
holes in the wall with some nails. I don't think I got my bond back, but
But it was so worth it 9 years later.
It was worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I love that.
It was very, very thoughtful. So
Aw.
there's a bit of that. Yeah, we still do that. You still do things like that, which is really nice. I'm a romantic.
Yeah, it's more a metaphorical pillow fort than a real one now, I think.
It's more like a bath, a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And some snacks.
I think
Nice.
I think a pillow fort is in your future again. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just a random pillow fort.
Yeah, block out the world.
Yeah.
So
Have you got?
nice.
They
have
are
you-
nice.
Are
Yeah.
kids on your mind, guys?
No. We have
No.
a dog and we
Yeah.
really like her. I have endometriosis, so it would be very hard for me to have kids. But I also I really have this feeling of like, I'm just so happy for my little version of me, like that she gets to do this job that was her dream job and she gets to live her dream life. And I just don't want to like interrupt her enjoyment of it. I don't know what it is. It's this weird thing, but I did my third show, Legacy, that we did together. I say that like, I'm always collecting things for a little girl, and like my life is a collection of stories written for a girl that doesn't exist because she would ruin it, and that's not necessarily fair. But like it's actually maybe that little girl is the little girl that I was, and so I feel kind of that way about it. Or maybe I just convinced myself that because of the endo, it's just easier to. But we're very much dog people. I never see a baby and sort of coo. Like I like my friends' babies, but I never see a baby and go, oh my God, the baby. But every dog I see, I'm like, give me that dog.
Yeah. And we both we both have always been that way. That I felt a little bit of guilt for thinking that, for not wanting to give my parents grandkids.
Yeah.
But my sister has always wanted kids and has just had her first baby about a month ago. So that has sort of ticked the checklist for me there. The guilt has
good.
gone there.
Yeah.
But then again, that's not a thing that either of us want, but it also feels like a bit of a shame because I feel like we would have maybe a deluded thing to say, but quite talented kids, I think. I think they would be.
I think we'd be good parents.
I think we'd be good parents,
Maybe
but I
we
also
should be
think
foster parents when we're
or just
older.
cool aunt and uncle is a good vibe.
Yeah, we like being
Yeah.
cool aunt and uncle. Like
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 nephews. My brother had 2 kids, and they're really, really great kids, and I love them very much, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what Erin's baby turns out to be. But yeah, it's very like, I also have the, genetic stuff. My father passed away from cancer. My brother passed away from a similar cancer, and it looks like we might have like a genetic disposition to maybe not live that long. And so that's another question. 2 questions really is, one, if you're not going to live that long, do you want to have a child and have to sacrifice that so much of your limited time? And the other one is like, do you want to pass that on to a child? And I mean, I would want it to be passed on to me, I suppose, because I'm happy I exist, but it's just another factor to consider. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. Absolutely.
Yeah, being the cool aunt and uncle, taking a loop machine and a guitar over to
Yes.
create
Exactly.
havoc for a couple of
Make
hours.
the kids laugh.
Couple
Absolutely.
of hours is
You're
fine,
done.
and then the parents can deal with the rest.
I got a
You're
message.
in and out.
Yeah, my nephew told me, he sent me a message the other day saying, Auntie Michelle, you are slaying on Instagram. And I said, thank you.
There you go. I love it.
That's great.
We do something called the 2-minute shower to finish, and it's basically keep your answers super short, and we're going to ask you both the same question.
Okay.
Great.
Number 1, what's your best quality?
My kindness.
Oh, I was going to say kindness for me as well. Nice. Cute.
What would be the first song on a mixtape that you were making for each other?
Falling slowly from once.
Oh, I was going to say the same one. Okay. Maybe I'm just going to say Falling Slowly as well. I'm just going to say it. It's too hard.
It's such a great song. You guys would both be great in once.
And we would love to do
Considered
it.
that?
Yeah, we'd
Yeah,
love
I
to
mean,
do
we
it.
could do it, yeah.
Oh, what a show. Just
We'd
gives me
love to do
goosebumps
it.
thinking about it.
It's beautiful,
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh. All right. What about this relationship are you grateful for?
Friendship.
Everything. There's nothing that I'm not grateful for.
I also think everything.
What do you miss when you're not together?
Silliness.
Laughing.
You guys are good at this.
Yeah, you're really good at this. We appreciate this. This is the last question. Describe each other in 1 word.
Oh.
That stumped them, honey.
Got
That wrecked it.
It's so hard because I've got just so many words that I would use to describe Michelle. I think, can I hyphenate?
Yes.
No, because that would just be an on-running sentence. I think wholesome.
Oh, that's nice. I was going to say gentle.
Love it. Michelle and Tim, thanks so much for your time today. We will put your new album, Trilogy Mixtape, on our show notes so our listener can
And what's the name of the
dig
book?
it.
Oh, the book's called My Brother's Ashes Are in a Sandwich Bag, and you can pre-order that online at the moment. It comes out in September. Yeah.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing I've ever done.
Oh, my gosh.
that's fantastic.
Is
love
it,
it.
is it a resealable Texas Tough bag?
It's a Hercules.
Hercules.
Bag, and I always say, like, it says Hercules on it, or perhaps they've given me somebody else's ambitiously named brother.
That's so good.
All right, guys.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks,
and
guys.
all the best
Thanks
with,
for having
with
us.
future success.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, guys.
I really enjoyed that chat. That was so great.
What a lovely relationship.
Yeah. And they know their place and they know what they want, you know,
Yeah.
and it's sort of like they support each other. I didn't realize that Tim was such a pivotal part in the act that Michelle has.
Yeah.
So that would, really give them a lot of fun and creativity.
I mean, it
together.
would be so nice to sort of, there's your lover, partner, best friend, right behind you on the keyboards or guitar on a big stage, like to have him there. I just think that to me would feel really good. Like talk about having your back. He would have her back.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
the word that came to mind as you were saying that was safety and feeling safe. And when you feel safe, and it gives you confidence.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm really glad that I asked the question about the flyering.
Right, yes.
I did not know that.
I mean, I just assumed that that's what that was. It's like you hand out flyers. But when she went into detail about how much you've got to do that, and that's a talent in itself. I don't know if I could do that, stand out there with a picture of myself and promote like that.
Well, a lot of us as theatre goers and consumers of movies and things, you look at these people who are performing and you go, you don't really think of the hard yards and the shoe leather that they've spent.
That's right.
And done in order to get where they are. I remember Hugh Grant years ago would talk about 10 years to being a overnight
success.
sensation.
Yeah.
And that is the case here.
Yeah.
And so, but that's how they get so good. You look at those 10,000 hour books or whatever. That's how they get so good.
I mean, just quickly, I watched that Steve Martin documentary
on Netflix,
and
right?
it's an incredible documentary. And he did I don't know how many years 20 years of stand-up, of people hating him, loving him, hating him again, until before he even got in front of a TV camera. Yeah. And you look at him and go, oh, he's a superstar, which of course he is now. But again, when you hear the story from how early he wanted to be stand-up and how hard that was, and talking to no one at a pub and
one
getting
or
up
two
that,
people,
that
and they're
no
yelling
one
at
laughed.
you, going, "Get off!
Absolutely.
Tell me something funny."
Yeah, that's not an easy job.
Yeah, that to me was when I first started in showbiz, and how it was gifted to me. Had my auditions and did things, but I did not do what Michelle's talking about, and I felt like I didn't deserve to be there at some points because I hadn't put those hard yards in. I mean, 40 years later, it's a bit of a different story, but at the beginning, it's a challenge. So they're fantastic, and more power to them, and they're off to the States, and as Michelle said, they'll go back to Edinburgh and do more, and she's got a wonderful book coming out with that killer title.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
The book, the album, it's all happening.
Yeah, yes, and the album is Trilogy Mixtape, and like she said, there's 25 tracks on there, and really funny.
Yeah.
And she's such a good singer. And Tim's clearly a great player as well. That's all we have time for. Thanks so much for listening.